Cool shirt
I love it.
for you. Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. I believe we are live. My name is Lindsay Nollinger. I'm the host of the Purpose and Pixie Dust podcast, and I am so excited for you to meet our guest today, Lauren. So, Lauren, tell us all the things. Tell us who you are, what you do, how you started, what you're doing.
So that's a loaded question. That'll just be the rest of the show. So I'm Lauren Gaggioli. That's how you say the last name. And I am an entrepreneur based out of Issaquah here in Washington. And I got started as an actress, if we want to go in the Wayback Machine. So when I moved to LA after graduating from NYU with my degree in theater, which as a type A person was maybe not the right move, I realized I needed a job. And so I started tutoring ACT and SAT, found that I really enjoyed the journey of teaching, which I'm sure is a common thread here for your listeners, and really loved kind of being outside a traditional school setting and kind of doing it on my own and getting to like exercise that entrepreneurial side. And so I started with a large company, went and did in-home tutoring on my own. So that was my first business venture, was in-home tutoring. And then one of my clients actually was like, "Hey, why aren't you on Twitter?" It was a dad of a student, and I was shocked. And he really opened my eyes to a lot of the creative things that were happening with online education back in 2013. So I started listening to folks like Michael Hyatt when he was talking about like social media more than anything else, and Pat Flynn, Smart Passive Income, and logging as many hours as I did in the car, I got a lot of free education. And in 2014, went online with my ACT and SAT offerings, doing asynchronous courses, iterated on those a couple of times, then sold that company back in 2021. So out of test prep completely, and sort of took stock of where I was and what I wanted to do. And I decided that one of the things I love the most about online entrepreneurship is kind of the game around organic marketing and around getting in Google's good graces. And so I founded Content Catalyst, which is a program where it's essentially organic marketing strategy and implementation, because that's the part that I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with. They can look at the high level strategy and then go, okay, I know what I have to do. And there's only so many hours in a day. So once you have clients or you're trying to serve folks in your communities, it can be really hard to do the implementation that keeps people pouring into those programs. And so that's where I come in with an SEO copywriter. We exercise, we execute a whole plan, and we go through a bunch of different exercises to get to a data-backed plan. And then we implement for you. So that's what I'm doing right now. I love it. And it's so much fun.
Didn't know so many pieces of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I knew about the test prep.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I connected that. Like, I knew you were involved somehow with online schooling, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. So that's so cool.
Yeah. So a lot there, right? Like the journey is crazy, but I love it. Like the online space is so fun.
And it makes sense that you started with Twitter because of that educational realm, because there's so much activity on Twitter, even still to this day, for the education community.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and do you own an agency now?
So I have partnerships with copywriters. So I execute the strategy. I do the keyword research, and then I come up with the strategy. I also have done with you offerings as well, because I know that it's not in every starting entrepreneur's budget, but it's the kind of thing that I think we look at social a lot and go, ooh, this is fun. Like, this is a really quick way to drum up business. And it works well for some people. Some people are really geared towards that. I realized with test prep that it wasn't a great way for me to go, because I was selling broccoli. No one wants to play in that world with broccoli.
That's so interesting. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about implementation.
Okay.
Like you said, that's one thing that a lot of people, like, we know what to do, but then we don't actually do it. So what are some strategies or some ways that you help your clients with that implementation?
So I think, with our clients, essentially what we do is we take all the burden of research off of them. We say, you don't have to learn anything about SEO. We're happy to share with you what we know. If you want to learn it and take it and run with it, we're happy to be educators. I love that part of the journey. But I also know that's not what a lot of people want. They want to pay for ease. They want to pay for just take it off my plate, please. And so all of the keyword research, obviously there's touch points. We don't say like, and now this is our thing. Like we make sure it's in alignment with everybody's direction and what they're looking to do. But essentially, my main copywriter and we just pass the ball back and forth. I say, this is the strategy for this piece. Here are the keywords we're targeting. And then she writes, she sends it to the client, they approve. And then often the client will put it on their site themselves. But that is an additional service that we offer if you don't want to do that either. So we tried to make position it in such a way that it was really easy for folks to say yes. So it's a 7-month contract. We equally distribute across the 7 months the whole cost of the project instead of saying it takes 1 month to do keyword research. Here's your bill. So, spreading the cost out and making sure that everybody has the ability to say yes or budget accordingly for our contracts was a huge part of it and how we position it. And then in terms of the implementation itself, if people want to DIY it, there are a lot of ways to learn about SEO that are out there, like just really easy. I mean, if you search SEO, not surprisingly, SEO companies will show up. So there's really quality information out there. If you want to find it, you just Google it
Yeah.
and you can learn what you need to know to get started.
Mhm.
And what I always say and what I try to implement in my own business is if you're going to go it alone, instead of saying, I'll do this when I get through X, Y, and Z for a client, you start putting 30 minutes to an hour upfront of work time towards
Mhm.
your stuff
Yeah.
because there will never be any time left in that time bank at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's going to expand. It's going to eat up the time that you want to put towards your company. So you have to flip the script and you have to start putting it first. It's kind of the same idea of like Mike Michalowicz's profit first, how you take your profit first.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of mental trick of like, this is never going to work if I wait for the decks to be cleared. So just get out there
Yeah,
and
I
just
love
start
that.
doing for yourself.
I follow a couple other coaches who they talk about like doing your stuff first and they call it like CEO time. So you have your CEO time
Oh, yeah.
at the beginning part of the day, and then you do your client work and work for, in your business or whatever, or on other people's businesses, but making sure that you get yours done first. I think it's such a
Yes.
great reminder for all of us, especially.
CEO time. I'm going to file that because is
Yeah,
that's
keep discussing
exactly what we need, right?
that. Yeah.
What there's never enough
So
time left over for.
we started talking, and then I realized some of our listeners might not even know what is SEO.
Oh, what a great question.
Yeah,
Yes,
what
go
is
back to the
SEO?
basics.
Yeah, let's go back to the basics.
So SEO is search engine optimization. You might also hear people talk about SEM, search engine marketing. And essentially, the idea behind it is when you have a burning question, yeah, you might crowdsource your friends, right? But when you need the answer now, you go to Google, right? You type that question into Google. And so the idea is how do you answer the questions that are being asked in Google in such a way that you position yourself as authority, as a contributor in that space, and also ideally, when appropriate, position your services or your products as the next right step. And so maybe it's getting on your email list, maybe it's actually purchasing from you, but you want to take strangers on the internet and make them lifelong friends. And so that's the premise behind
Yeah,
organic marketing,
yeah,
which
love that.
includes SEO, it includes social, it includes a lot of different ways, but it's a differentiation from organic is a differentiation from paid. So paid ads,
Mhm.
whether they're run on social or through Google or what have you.
Yeah. Now, a lot of things that I hear, a lot of people who are listening to my show are network marketers
Okay.
or just starting out in their business. And a lot of times people don't necessarily want to pay for a website. What are your kind of parameters for well, yeah, like, what's your advice regarding website, not having a website? Are there any tips for starting out to make that cost a little lower? What would you tell someone if they were approaching you as a client?
Yeah, I think what I would say is if you want to get into Google's good graces, you have to have a website. It's your storefront, right? It is you plant your flag and you say, "Hey Google, I'm here to help people with X." And Google says, "Oh," and then they send you people. They're not like unless you are just going gangbusters, you're probably not going to get found through a social channel through Google, right? Um so I think it's a necessary cost of business. One of the beautiful things, one of the things I love the most about the online space is the really, really, really low barrier to entry, right? It's super low. And you want to save money? Build your own website. There are a lot of tools that you can use to do that well. Squarespace is probably the easiest that I know of that balances SEO offerings plus simplicity. To my knowledge, and I haven't spent a lot of time researching it, but to my knowledge, Wix is significantly less effective when it comes to search engine optimization. So you want to just get in and get started. I think Squarespace is a fantastic option. If you know you want to offer paid courses down the line, you really want to kind of have these um, beautiful, shiny storefronts, then it may be worth it to you to engage in the learning curve that is getting into WordPress. I've been in WordPress since day one. I paid for someone to build my initial site for higher scores because back then it was not secure to take payment with like I didn't know coding, and so like I really wanted somebody who knew what they were doing. Now there are a lot of plug and plays through Stripe and different shops or different carts that you can set up in WordPress that make it more viable for you to do more of the work yourself. But even though I paid for that initial site, because I knew how robust I wanted it to be, because I knew I wanted the courses to live on that website, because I knew I wanted the payment to come through that website, I made sure I was in WordPress from day one. And then I learned how to do everything else. Anything that was like super technical, I farmed out. But everything else, it was sweat equity. so
Yeah.
um, I highly recommend learning it because it will save you time and money in the long
Mhm.
run.
So I did a WordPress site, but I hosted it on Bluehost. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're familiar, but it took me forever. It took me like, I mean, probably a good 6 months of working most evenings to have it look like how I wanted it to look. Like I had
Yeah.
the YouTube videos, like I was not farming it out. I
Yeah.
actually asked someone at some point, it's a local lady who does like websites, and she did like a free call with me to answer one question that I like could not figure out. But I wanted to know it because I do feel like that learning curve is important for like, under making sure you understand kind of your own site and how it works. Like
Yeah.
even if you hire parts of it out, like I've heard people say that before. I keep saying like I'm trying to like put the words together in my head, but
That's all right.
you want to understand the back end logistics to your website, whether you're sitting there with someone as they're working on it or they walk you through it. But I do think that's super important too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Bluehost, I will say, I know they've had trouble in the past. I think I was with them initially. I'm now on WP Engine, but things that can make it a little easier. Thrive Themes has some really lovely drag and drop. Divi Builder
Mhm,
through Elegant Themes is another drag and drop interface.
mhm.
There are things you can layer on top of WordPress that make it a bit more user friendly.
Yeah.
I'm a Thrive Themes girl. They just have so many built-in capabilities that I pull in occasionally,
Mhm.
pop-ups and things like that, where you don't have to be loading up a ton of different plugins, but
Yeah.
you can make it look exactly how you want.
Yeah. No.
Um, it there is a learning curve, and also I think some people will just go like, "But I don't want to design." Fine, have somebody help you kind of
Yeah.
zhuzh it, right?
Mhm.
Have a designer come in and give you the templates that then you leverage, right?
Yeah.
And put in your own copy and things like that. There are ways to streamline it, but if you do not understand how it's like not having the keys to your storefront.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you don't know how it works, you are going to pay more in the long run to
Mhm.
have a site that looks the way you want it to. And sites these days have to be very dynamic, right? You need fresh content. You can't just put up a static site and be like, this is it.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
you at some point have to be curating content there and making it pretty, especially if you want Google to send you traffic.
Right. Now I use Kajabi. What do you know about
Okay.
Kajabi? Are they pretty well
I think
versed?
they're very well regarded in the course space. I'm a control freak. So when I put my sites on my site, I put them behind like a paywall and all that, and they lived on my site. I didn't have any of the like third parties. Again, that wasn't really an option when I was starting out.
Right.
Um, I had a lot of people say like I should do courses in spaces that have like their own storefront and their own marketing arm, but then
Mhm.
you're not getting paid as much, right? So
Right.
tools evolve. And I
Mhm.
think really what it comes down to is making the right choice for you at a moment,
Yep.
in the moment based on what's available and understanding. Sometimes understanding how they're getting paid is helpful. Like a one time payment to a plugin sounds good until you realize that if you pay every year, then they probably have cash to keep the lights on and support going. So
Mm,
I'm willing in certain instances to pay a little bit more for a service that I know is on a from a business
reliable.
standpoint is sound.
Yeah,
Um,
good point.
and that's just something to think about. Like when you get things for quote free or for a lower cost or a one-time fee, it might not actually be as good as it seems. So really do a little digging before you commit to a tool, and then once you commit, just stop researching
Right.
because
Yeah.
jumping around is the kiss of
Mhm.
death. There are so many options. Pick the one that seems right based on decent research, and then just ride one horse, right?
Yeah.
Don't try and ride
I'm
38.
guilty. I am guilty of this. So I started with Kajabi in 2020. And then I was like, oh, this one looks like Kajabi and it's cheaper. I'm like, duh, this makes sense. So I not only paid for a year of, it was Funnel Gorgeous, FG Funnels.
Okay.
So I
I
paid for
like the name.
I know, right? It's 2 women and they're awesome and they do I don't know if they have a podcast, but they put out a lot of good content online. They do a conference, all this stuff. And so I was like, "Oh, they seem, this is really legit." And so I paid it. It was probably about half of what I paid for Kajabi. And then I took the rest of that money and hired someone to transfer everything on my site over. It was a hot mess. It was a hot mess, and I got in there and like we were talking, although I hired someone to transfer the stuff, I still wanted to be able to use the platform. So I was
Yeah.
in and trying to build, funnels that were supposed to be a lot easier and trying to make my website look the way I wanted to, and it was way more coding. It reminded me more of my WordPress Bluehost days than my Kajabi days where it was drag and drop and very done for you, and
Yeah.
I ended up it was a total waste of money. I like
Oh.
I kept in Kajabi the whole time. So I am very much sticking to that now where I am blinders on. I am not looking at other competitors because I found my one, you know what I mean? It works for me. It works for what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with it. I can do it myself.
Yeah. Convenience is worth paying for. How
Mhm.
many hours are you giving up to save a little bit of time? How much do you charge an hour?
Right.
You can start to make that like exchange. I think the other thing to think about, you know, right now I'm really interested in Circle, the
Oh,
Circle
yeah.
app with for
Uh-huh.
like memberships,
Yeah.
but I keep looking at it. I'm like, I don't have a community yet. Like this would be really stupid for me to buy now.
Mhm.
But as I start to launch courses again and as I start to move forward with that and as I start to build my email list and all the things, I am going to be kind of keeping my finger on the pulse. In fact, one thing that I am doing as a part of after I do this launch of my next course, I am going to go, okay, at what point do I have a tipping point in my business, but be it number of clients or monthly revenue, consistency of like 3 months or 6 months at a certain point where I go, okay, and now the door is open for me to consider this again.
Mhm.
It's because I'm the kind of person who, like, when I have the to do in my head, I either do it or I sit there and just think about it. And
Right.
it's constant, like this horrible scrolling loop
Just thinking about all
of
the time.
doom.
Yes. Yep.
Who needs to doom scroll? I've got a to-do list to scroll through that of things that I've not done.
That
And so it helps me to like have that locker of like, this door doesn't open until, right?
mm,
And then once I kind of lock that down, then I'm like, okay, now I can work towards that next goal and kind of
Yeah,
make it stepping stones instead
yeah.
of all the things.
No, I get it. I was looking at, I like the Circle app, but have you looked at Mighty Networks?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that if I ever were to transfer, I would go in there.
Yeah.
And I, like, had that decided, like, a year ago, and I actually almost paid for it with my current membership, and it was so funny. Kajabi acquired, I think it was called Community, but maybe not because that's a text.
Oh, yeah. That was one
Was
for
it?
a
Okay.
while there, I think. Yeah.
So they acquired them, and so
Oh.
they have rolled out, and they now have a membership component already there, and so I'm like, "Oh, well, that
Hmm.
was a sign." So now I'm not letting myself look at my
Yeah.
network circle and all that again because that's, that's in there. So, but
And I
I'm
think it's interesting because when you're serving clients, you want to know about the solutions. But
Mhm.
there's that like shiny object syndrome of like,
Yeah.
I need to know like levels so that people who are at different tiers of
Mhm.
experience or expertise or need can I can say here's a Squarespace, here's a WordPress, here's a this that and the other. You want to be able to offer that and have knowledge of it.
Right.
But I think it kinda goes to that, like, just in time learning, like, wait until you have the question from the client. Otherwise, like, for me, I'll just wanna get all the stuff. Like, I want
Yeah,
the tech. I want the new
yeah,
thing. Just
yeah,
give it to
I get
me.
it.
I need to, like,
Um,
shut the door on it.
I have a client right now who is starting her website for the first time. She is a tutoring and, an academic coach, I guess we'll say. What kind of tips do you have for her on, so I think she just has the static page right now, and we were just talking about blog, SEO, and adding fresh content in there. Would you recommend that she have a blog where she's adding content as well so that she can be searched?
Yes, but
Love it.
um, I think the thing that's kind of interesting is what we think people are asking
Mm,
and what they really are asking, like what they're
yeah,
really typing into Google. So the easiest way to see if your hunch is correct is to start typing your question into Google and you get that drop down of the top
mhm,
10 like similar queries.
yeah,
Um, Go and look at those. See what language is in there. Like you don't have to sign up for anything, you don't have to do anything. Go there and look at what the exact language that people are using. And if nothing shows up, try something else. See
okay,
where you're gonna get, like, more populated lists. Keywords Everywhere is a free, I think it's a plugin, and so you can I don't use it personally, but it comes highly recommended.
okay,
You can get in and you will start finding keywords everywhere, like, when you're searching, it'll give you, like, lists of keywords and stuff.
okay,
Um, the thing to keep in mind is you want keywords with some search volume, right? So I like to look first for newbies, 50 to 200 is kind of a good range. That's the how many times it's being searched a month. Um, and then you want to find keyword difficulties that are very low. And so every software that does this does sort of slightly different things. Ahrefs that I use does a 0 to 100 scale. If you're in the Google keyword planner, it's going to give you low, medium, high, only target low. Um, you want to find the low hanging fruit. And sometimes you'll be totally blown away. So you mentioned network marketers. I have a Beachbody coach that I work with. I cannot believe the opportunity in the Beachbody space. It's
mhm,
ridiculous. Like, I thought, "Oh gosh, there's so many Beachbody coaches.
yeah,
Everybody's gonna be doing this."
right,
Sometimes you'll look at it and you'll go, "How is that a low keyword? Like, it's 0. How?" And some of them are getting 600 and 800 and 1,500 searches a month. And
yeah,
so, I think keeping in mind, like, sometimes we go, "Oh, I want the best," right? So we go for the thing with
mhm,
the huge search volume. It's like,
right,
A, what's the difficulty of ranking for that? How many other people are gunning for that same
yeah,
term? But also B, can you serve those clients? Like if you're a one-to-one coach, you can't, right?
right,
You can't serve 1,500 clients a month.
yeah,
Uh, can you serve, and obviously it's a percentage game, right? You have to bring them in and you have to convert them and all that. So yes, you want to this is like top of the funnel, right? You want to bring in higher volume, but don't poo-poo lower search volumes, particularly if the difficulty is significantly lower. And then you're going to want to learn a little bit about on page SEO and how to rank and the different things that Google's looking for. And then execute, 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 execute. Just rinse and repeat. And what I also recommend is as a social strategy, when you write a post, create 2 to 5 evergreen sort of looks at that. Like how could you feature that single post through different lenses and make those your evergreen posts that are in your queue, in your rotation, that go out through social once a month, so that you're constantly driving your social followers back to that post that hopefully at the end has a very clear call to action of sign up for my email list, or something more compelling than that.
Yeah.
Nobody needs more email. They want what you're going to give them. So a lead magnet of some sort,
Okay.
or a direct, when it's appropriate, a direct call to work with you. And here's how I solve this problem. And let's hop on a discovery call, or whatever the case may be.
So is SEO going to be important in our lead magnets, or more so in whatever is driving them to the lead magnet?
It can be.
Okay.
So, Lindsay, you know about my wish post. You
Mhm.
answered the question. So I have a post that's going to go live about the things you wish you knew before you became an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, online entrepreneur, however you want to say it. What are the lessons we wish we knew? What are the things that resonate with you about the list I've curated? And I'm just gathering data right now. When I sit down to write that, I will be targeting something along the lines of advice for new entrepreneurs, advice for solopreneurs. I'm going to do the keyword research at that time. I know that there is sort of, a grouping of keywords around that. And
Yeah.
this is going to be the evergreen post that I'm going to create an ebook as well behind it and
Mm.
continually feed. Everybody's going to get to participate. I'm going to update it quarterly. That is going to be something that is a driver of opt-ins as well, because I will give a highlight, I will feature other entrepreneurs, and I will give people the opportunity to get even more tips and advice and also be featured in a
Okay.
future edition.
I
So
love.
it can be.
Right. Okay.
And then sometimes, with test prep, I had the Insider's Guide to the ACT and SAT. It was 35 strategies for raising your score. Improving your score is definitely something that people are searching for, but it's also a really easy way to be like, listen, you're on a site asking questions about how many times can you take the ACT? When is the SAT? Clearly, you also want a higher score. So here's this freebie. So
Mhm.
even though that freebie isn't optimized for those improving scores keywords, it's a
Yeah.
natural progression and something I know everybody wants. Thinking about the potential client. And then as a part of having that, there's a whole sequence behind it that converts to clients with a
Yeah.
special savings.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
It's
One
a
other thing. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I mentioned earlier Thrive themes. Thrive Ultimatum is how I built that. And essentially, it creates a time triggered, it was a pain in the rump to create. Like trying to track the tags and who clicks what and when was a nightmare to set up.
Mhm.
But I was featured in USA Today, one of their inserts. I had written a whole article, and this was the thing. And I was like, I have to have this done. And
Yes.
so I did it for me, and it today still drives purchases, but I did it through Thrive. They're time bound. Um,
Mm.
their Thrive Leads, how it integrates with Thrive Ultimatum, where you can do an evergreen campaign and people are offered this single sale price once. And after it's done, it locks down and they can't get that one again. So
I've
it's
seen that
pretty
before with
slick.
tech funnels. I assumed there was other places that did it, but I didn't know other websites that did stuff like that.
Yeah,
With
it's
the
cool.
timed. Yeah, that's really cool. I
Yeah,
haven't figured that out with Kajabi yet. I don't know if it can do that. That's probably something I would have to buy and integrate in for sure.
potentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. I want to learn more about that later.
Add it to
Yeah, I know that list we were talking about.
the list.
You had mentioned briefly with your ACT business about the working one-on-one versus the one-to-many concept.
hmm
Can you kind of explain to us how that scaling allowed you to build that business as big as it was, and how I'm assuming you're doing that with your businesses now, essentially, because you're not doing all the done for you, you're adding some other stuff. So
Yeah.
why is that important for us as entrepreneurs to be able to do that?
I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I homeschool, and I also want to have a life. So
For real.
the what it depends, right? It got to the point where I was pricing myself out. of doing one-to-one because my calendar was full
Yeah.
and I still had people banging down the door. And so it was really, really difficult to turn students I knew needed help away because I knew I could help them. Like
Yeah.
that was really the thing. It wasn't like I was turning away clients I didn't want to work with. It was like I genuinely love helping people.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do. I think all of us are probably drawn in a similar fashion. And so
Right.
there's can be this like mindset thing that happens when you go, "Oh, I'm going to go one to many. I'm going to lose my special touch." And actually, when you know what you do so well because you've done one-to-one for so long that you can anticipate questions, you can build something pretty slick on the e-course side that is hugely compelling. So
Yeah.
for ACT and SAT, I had a lot of one-to-one options built in, like group calls, and I was like trying to make myself available, like trying to kind of bridge the gap with a lot more personal touch, and
Yeah.
nobody would engage. Like people would buy the package that has 4 private tutoring sessions and not use them. And I'm like banging down the door like, "I'm here.
Yeah.
Can I meet you?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, we're good." I'm like, "You paid for it." "Yeah, it's okay." And so what I end up finding out is that because I knew all the ways every student misworked every question, and because I addressed that in the way I
Of
taught,
course. Yeah.
I had no questions.
Genius.
I saved them time. I saved them money because I didn't have to pay as much to
That
get
much.
all
Yeah.
of my knowledge,
Right.
and they were succeeding. They were getting tremendous results.
Yeah.
And so I think one-to-one is really important before you build a course. Do not just head online and start building out courses. Like
Right.
that is a
Right.
kiss of death. You got to work with people and be able to and know them so well that you anticipate what their
Mhm.
needs are. And
Yeah.
when you are at that place where you can do it in your sleep, package it up, put it
Yeah.
in a course.
Love that. I love that so much. Did you ever do small group? Like in
I did not.
Okay.
Well, I taught classes initially. So the way it worked, I worked with a national company. The way it worked is you worked in classroom and then you tutored.
Okay.
So they actually slotted me in after my training and were like, "We have a tutoring need and you can fit the bill. So you go and tutor and teach classes." So I was doing both. I really like cohorts, and that's actually
Mhm.
something I'm thinking of starting to offer, the kind of done with you. I
Yeah.
mean, next year I'm going to start offering that with SEO, but I want to serve more clients. And the thing about SEO that's tricky is that it does take,
It's
a
individualized.
year to
Yeah.
really see significant traction when you're doing all the things right, which is kind of
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's one of those like, put your head down, do it,
Mhm.
and
That's
look
so
up
true.
in a year and you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Um, so
Which
yeah.
is good, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, there's so much. I feel like we could talk forever and ever.
Well, talking to you is just so fun. So
I
keep it
know.
going.
And Lauren and I, by the way, we ran the Disney Marathon together this year. We met
Yes, we
at
did.
the Lose Momentum Mastermind weekend back in October. Lou Mangello, which you guys have heard me. I feel like 6 or 7 people from that weekend on the show. It's like a reunion. But anyway, Lauren, I like to ask a couple rapid fire questions at the end, if you would be willing. Okay, so first question: what is the best personal or professional development book you have read just recently? It doesn't have to be of all time, or it
Chill
could
and
be.
Prosper.
What is it?
Chill and Prosper by Denise
Oh,
Duffield Thomas. It used to be Chillpreneur.
yep.
I listened to it. First of all, she's Australian. Amazing to just hear her. But listen
Lovely.
to that book.
Interesting. I feel like I might have that upstairs. I don't know that I've read it. Or I'll
I
probably-
have a box of books that I haven't gotten to, but that was one that I was like, I listened to it on runs. It like just
Okay.
calms me.
Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll have to add that to the list if I don't. Now I'm gonna have to go check upstairs. We got favorite vacation spot.
Disney World.
Da.
I'm feeling magical.
I know.
I'm ready.
You
Like,
guys had to
let's
see
go.
right as we were getting started. She's like, "Look at my shirt." I was like, "It's perfect." We should have had like matching ears on for that
I
show.
know. Why didn't we?
I know. Silly. Next time. Oh my gosh, what's another question that I normally ask my morning or nighttime routine or neither or both?
I have children. Neither.
Like,
Get up when they get up, go to bed as soon as possible after
yeah,
they're
I
down.
think we didn't even talk about the whole aspect of like how you're the one man show doing all the things, because that is a lot of the people, myself included, in our business, but we will have
Yeah.
to do that at a different time. But
Yes.
it's rough, like doing all this stuff. But like you said, heads down, it's worth it.
It
Just keep
absolutely is worth it. It lights me
going.
up, and that when it doesn't, that's when I go, "All right, this is something to farm out or quit doing."
Yeah, I love that. And last thing, what is one piece of advice for the woman listening to this who's like, okay, I'm ready to either do a website or take the one I have and make it a little bit better? What's one piece of advice you have for her? I know that's really loaded.
I think at the end of the day, we have to remember it's not about us.
Mm,
We are a bridge. We help connect other people with some sort of solution.
mhm.
That is our job. And so when we're writing, think about them, have that avatar in mind, write for them. It
Yeah,
can feel, so my nickname is Low. It can feel like the Low Show, right? Like it's me.
yeah,
It's just about me. It's not about me. It's about you. And
yeah,
if I don't make you feel that, then we're lost. Like then
yeah.
I'm not the solution for you. And
Mm,
so stand in what you do, be honest, be above board, you know, shine a light on how you help. But at the
yeah,
end of the day, it's about them and you're either going to be the right fit right now, not right now, or maybe never. And that's
yeah,
on them. But as long as you frame it appropriately and draw in the right people
yeah,
to the clients you resonate with, then the rest
yeah,
will take care of itself.
yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And I was just reading, or maybe it was in a podcast, and that was kind of their message as well. Like, we got to stop making it so much about us. It's about the transformations of the lives you're changing. And I was like, that's such a good reminder because it can be so easy to get stuck in that, about me, especially on social media.
Yeah,
For me anyway, like it's a lot to
absolutely.
remember to talk to your person instead of the other way around.
It's hard because we're talking heads often. It's hard to know when that other person isn't there. If you're struggling with it, try and find a one-to-one client because
Mhm.
that will fill you back up, right?
Yeah,
That was the thing that was so panicky at first when I went online. I was like, no one's talking to me. And I want to help them, but I was helping them just in a different way. And I
yeah,
built it so well that I paid my mortgage for the 2 weeks that I was on vacation in London, right?
oh,
Like this is the power of online.
yeah,
And I was still doing my job and living my life. And like I could do both. And I'm
right.
such a yes and girl. So
Mhm.
like the fact that you could do it all, I was like,
Yeah,
"Ooh, I'm in the right
sign me
space."
up, sign me
Yeah.
up. Yes, it is, and then when you get done, you're like, "Ooh, and I can do that too, and I can do," like, just keep going,
It
build it
gives you
up.
the ability to do more and have a greater impact.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. That's totally what has drawn me to the coaching space as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, Lauren, where can everyone connect with you? And don't worry, guys, I'll make sure to put this in the show notes so you guys can just click on it, but tell us all the places.
So, best place if you just wanna connect is Instagram. I love Instagram, but I'm there for, like, personal reasons, so I'll share what I'm doing in business, but also you're gonna see my kids. So if that
Yeah,
sounds interesting,
perfect.
at Lauren Gaggioli. My website, if you wanna learn more about sort of what I do, how I help, I have a course about purpose that's coming up.
Mm,
I'm going to be launching that on May 1st. It's
nice.
called Big Why Life, and it's about creating, like, a resonant statement that helps you stay on track and moving towards your purpose.
I
And
love
so it's a slightly different look at some of the mindset stuff that I've been learning over the years.
it.
So bigwhylife.com. And then if you want to participate in the things you wish you knew, and potentially have your information and your website with a link back to your website, which is an
Yeah.
important SEO metric.
Yeah.
If you want to have the opportunity to be a part of that, you come over to laurengaggioli.com/wish.
Mm,
If you put your email in there, I'm not adding you to my email list. There's an opportunity to do that at the end, but it's purely so I can let you know if you're featured. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in engaging with, then come on over. It'd be really awesome to hear what you have to say. Lindsay gave some great answers. I know she's going to be featured. So
yeah, yeah. Happy dancing.
woo!
Well, it was so funny. You posted that and I was out of town. And so like I saved it and I remembered to do it like 2 days after that. And I was like, oh, I hope it's still open. Like I didn't realize
Oh,
it was like an ongoing thing.
for in perpetuity
Yeah.
is the thought right now. That could change, right?
That's
We'll see.
That's our flexibility as entrepreneurs.
Yes, it is. Kiss of death, and also, isn't it lovely?
Also both. Yes, also both. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I know this is going to be an episode that people are going to go back and listen to over and over again. And I hope that people take a screenshot of this, share it on your social and your stories, tag both of us on Instagram, and we would love to keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Lindsay. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome, friend. Bye-bye.